Now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to the Economic Development webinar series. My name is Susan Lowe. I'm with the Design Coordination and Outreach Branch of the Ministry of Jobs, Trade and Technology, and I'll be providing moderation and technical support for today's webinar. I'm located in Victoria, BC, on the unceded territory of the Lekwungen people known today as the Esquimalt and Songhees First Nations. I'm joined today by Cheryl O'Connell from North Island College and Joan Miller from the Vancouver Island North Film Commission, as well as Joey Rotenberg and Jamie Van Struth with the Ucluelet Chamber of Commerce. Before we go any further, I'll just review a few housekeeping items. If you're new to the webinar, this will be the first time you've heard this. There are two ways to connect to the audio on this webinar. You can connect through your computer, or you can connect over the phone if you're not having great luck with your internet connection. So if you want to change, you go into your audio tab and you click on the little phone call button, and it will give you the phone number, an access code, and a PIN number for you to dial in, and that lets us mute and unmute you on the call. If you're joining us via the Instant Join web app, then you will see your audio settings underneath the little gear icon. We will be happy to take your questions during today's webinar. So if you want to answer or ask us a question or ask one of the speakers a question, you're looking for that little enter a question for staff box. So please use it. Ask early, ask often, as they say. So we are creating a recording of today's session. The audio is being recorded, and what you see on the screen, the slides are being recorded, but not the webcam. And the speaker slides and presentation will be shared after the presentation. It takes me about a week to get the video uploaded and onto our BC Ideas Exchange webinar past recordings page. So a little patience for that is appreciated, and we try to put the speaker's presentations up there as well. We are in the process of doing a review of our economic development website. So that's everything you get to when you go to gov.bc.ca/economic development. So our toolkits, our funding and grant search tool, webinars, the BC Ideas Exchange, and all of the content there. And we need input from you. We're looking to do user interviews. So if you're willing to give up 15 to 20 minutes of your time to help make our website better, we really appreciate that. So please drop us a line at economicdevelopment.gov.bc.ca, and my wonderful coworker Liz will be in touch with you to set up a short interview. And we really appreciate it because this is how we make our website better for you. All right. Without further ado, I'm going to introduce the BC Film and TV Crew Training Program. Actually, I'm going to let Cheryl and Joan introduce themselves because they will do it so much better. So I'll just change the presenter controls over to Cheryl. She and Joan are standing by and in Campbell River, I believe. So, Joan, are you with us?
Hi, good morning. Yes, this is Joan Miller. We're here in beautiful Campbell River, another kind of boggy day on the west coast, but we don't have rain and we don't have wind, so we're really happy about that. I will introduce myself. I am the Regional Film Commissioner for Vancouver Island, other than the beautiful capital city of Victoria. I have the privilege to work with 25,000 square miles of beautiful terrain, which actually extends off of Vancouver Island and runs up the coastline up to Mount Waddington. So my job is basically to facilitate film and television, the motion picture industry. We walk we're the medium between the industry and our local communities.
And good morning, everybody. Thank you for this opportunity. My name is Cheryl O'Connell, and I hold the position of Dean for the Faculty of Trades and Technical Programs here at North Island College. North Island College serves the West Coast, the Central and North Island of Vancouver Island. Here in Campbell River, we are on the unceded territory of Wewakam First Nations, and we have the privilege of working with our residents, our community members on a number of initiatives with the film, television crew, pilot program being the priority focus of today. Susan, as we advance, I just want to make sure, can you see PowerPoint screen number 1?
Yes, we can.
Okay, excellent. And what you'll see in front of you all are two very engaged individuals who completed in our pilot programming last year and will now, if all is acceptable, we'll move forward with the PowerPoint. And I just have to make sure this is working for all of you. So Joan and I had the privilege of working with industry, with community, with education advisors, with education coordinators over a very compressed time period last spring, last summer, last fall, with the focus being the development and the launch of the Film and Television Crew Training Program. And it was very much a collaboration with INFilm and post-secondary education and industry.
So the original picture, I will say those two people were actually working on, that's Sonic the Hedgehog, if you recognize that little blue creature. So that was something we shot this summer on set with some of our crew working on an actual feature film. So, but jumping back to this slide, the initiative. So what informed this initiative was actually the rapid expansion of the film industry in British Columbia. For many people, they feel it's a rapid expansion. For some of us who have been doing this for 20 to 25 years in the regions, maybe not so rapid, but it is now expanded to the point in the Lower Mainland where there's many opportunities for growth in the regions of British Columbia. But we have a lot of challenges out here too. Basically, travel time. There's a lot of cost to work outside the Lower Mainland, but one of the biggest hurdles for us in our area and for the other regions of BC was the cost of bringing the crew from Vancouver, housing them for longer periods of time, paying them per diem. It always adds up to be such a large budget item that many times productions will just jump into the regions to capture that amazing vista and then hurry back to Vancouver as fast as possible to get the crew back home again. We were looking for ways to keep the crews and the projects out longer so that we could end up, the goal was to start attracting television series where we could grow infrastructure, where we could grow our crew base, where people could stay and live in our communities and where the industry would grow. So trying to develop our crew base meant we needed to have training go on in the regions. So a colleague of mine, a producer friend of mine who used to actually do the job in northern BC, we set out on a mission, and it took us about almost 2 years where we did a report for government where we met and consulted with unions, we met and consulted with producers, we met and consulted with people to try to identify what were the hurdles and were there any ways that we could creatively figure ways to get around them. So at the end of 2 years, after meeting with so many different people and we engaged with many different types of trainers, but we ended up having North Island College, who stayed with us through the whole of the journey, invested their time and invested their willingness to engage with us. We finally got to the point where we felt we found what was going to be the magic bullet for us to move forward with.
And I want to, at this point, just interject, because without INFilm, this initiative would not have advanced. Joan noted that she and industry representatives had been working together in a very, very strategic manner for over 2 years, but I would say it was a much longer duration than that. I've had the great fortune of working with Joan for over 10 years, but in the last 2 years, learning a great deal from her with reference to the opportunity of providing local residents with ease of access to training, which allows them that doorway to skill up and hone specialized skills specific to film and television, while looking at how they, in fact, as citizens, could gain employment within the region while having the opportunity to, if you might say, move across industry, move across sectors. What I learned from Joan in the early years is that there was a great opportunity to work with our trades professionals and our trade students. These are individuals who may be on the apprenticeship path, who may be holding the red seal, and these are individuals who are typically working on a contract basis. Some folks moving in and out of region depending on labor market demand, depending on employment opportunities. In our region, including the West Coast, we've heard time and time again from our existing students, from our graduates, from our industry leaders, that folks want to work and reside in community. They don't want to be on the road. They want to be near family. They want to be in their region. So we worked closely with the Industry Training Authority to identify an opportunity, if you might say, to leverage the advancement of film, television crew training with existing core trades programming. So during this pilot, we made a specific effort to reach out to our trades students, but also our graduates, and have conversation about skilling up specific to film and television. So we had a strong core base of individuals who came from the trades discipline and saw this as an opportunity to, if you might say, move between core trades contracts and then move into film and television as a means by which they could stay in their community. But also, that was really, really important from Joan's perspective. How do we build a regional-based crew? Well, why not provide opportunity for individuals who have that motivation, that desire to work in a specific, if you might say, field that aligns with film and television, and we'll get into that a bit more detail, but look to how can we support our local residents better. And what came out of the development in close collaboration with our Aboriginal leaders, our education coordinators, is that there is an increased need for regional-based training, and we're pleased to be able to share that this initiative is yet one more example of the value of regional-based training. I'm going to move on to the next slide because it speaks to a few steps that we took in advancing the initiative. So going back to Joan's work, dating back at least 2.5, 3 years ago, she worked closely with a colleague to develop a workforce development report. Joan, would you like to speak to that?
So the outcome of 2 years of meetings, which I'm going to be really honest, weren't exactly as positive as we'd hoped, but now, in hindsight, were really great lessons for us. They weren't received. Our ideas weren't received by the industry with open arms. That was definitely a big challenge. We were throwing things at them that were definitely out of the box. We were working with traditional unions that, who worked in a specific way, who were very polite and sat and listened to us, but who were not, opening the doors wide open to us to look at opportunities to add to their base or to accept a new type of training that wasn't something that was traditional to the sector. We ended up at the end basically saying to them, thank you very much for listening to us, but what we've learned is we really actually don't need your permission. We're moving forward, which was a big shock to them, and actually was really ended up being very good for us. It gave us what we needed to have the courage to take this on and to make it happen. So we didn't wait for permission. We found out we didn't need permission. Training and regional training and trades training are things that should be provided to everyone. There's not one sector that you need to have their strict permission to have it happen. So that was really a big lesson for us when we charged forward with it. So the report actually was finished and kind of sat, and that was another challenge, getting it to into the right hands. But we became very creative with that as well, and managed to get it to the premier as she was arrived to do an announcement and left with the report in hand. Very shortly after, that report made its way to the right people, and things started to happen very quickly. So I think the fact that we had hit the right mark in identifying the fact that we weren't trying to develop long training programs that would cost people a lot of money. What we were trying to do was take people who had already invested time and money in developing their trade and their skill, give them short-term training, and give them other opportunities to find other employment. So I think that's where it became very successful. The other part was, besides having 3 trades components to the training that we did, we looked at entry-level opportunities, which allowed people that didn't have those skills, as well as people in First Nations. We had been filming a lot on First Nations traditional lands, and I had been witnessing a lot of missed opportunities where productions came, offered jobs, but without any knowledge of the film industry. The jobs were never really taken up by local First Nations, and I felt that that was something that we as the film industry were lacking in doing. So providing proper production assistance training to give them the confidence, to give them all the certificates that they required to be there and be available to work. And I think the key to that was the certificates they got also allowed them for first aid, traffic control, even conflict resolution, and all the things that they received gave them the confidence to not only work in our sector, but to find jobs in other sectors. So we really looked at making this to be common sense training. And I think that was what one of the biggest values of all this was.
And as Joan noted, the workforce development report really helped to, if you might say, crystallize the priority needs, being construction, lighting, grip, and production assistant. So the report was actually used, if you might say, as the baseline as we moved forward with a labor market partnership funding application. We were very blessed because the application was received by the ministry in a favorable light. It was in fact funded. The if you might say, the application very much focused on the delivery of pilot programming aligned with those specific crew priorities, again being grip, electrical set, construction, and production assistant. So once the LMP was confirmed and signed off, we had a very, very compressed timeline to move forward with additional engagement with industry, with community, with our leaders, and with prospective students. So we then moved forward with the actual advancement of the planning and the delivery. And again, that was all done in consultation with industry instructors and leaders. And the advancement of the initiative involved informing and confirming, if you might say, a program datum, but also lesson plans, course resources, and formalizing those through our advisory committee for the project, and then moving forward with engagement in community to speak to what in fact the opportunities are for the prospective graduates, what are the opportunities for individuals to diversify. So if they're working in the service industry, if they're working in trades, and they develop and, if you might say, acquire these competencies, what opportunities would be ahead for them. So it took several hours, many road trips, and for the most part, Joan carried out that significant task. And it was very enlightening because there were folks in community who really appreciated having that opportunity for engagement, but appreciated also the context in which we were working, and the specific focus of how do we work in region, how do we ensure that we're bringing this value-added training opportunity while, offering individuals an opportunity to diversify their skill sets, while hopefully informing the advancement of a very important sector. So the program itself involved the delivery of cohorts in Campbell River, Port Alberni, and Parksville. We had over 138 students register in the training, and we had a few individuals opt out due to personal reasons. So at the end of the day, we had 132 students complete the training. So we commenced in October 2017 with production assistant in Campbell River, then moved production assistant to Port Alberni over November, December. And during that same time period, we had 3 streams here in Campbell River, and we called them the Film Trade Specialization Stream. And that was carpentry, set construction, grip training, and lighting. I'd like to take this opportunity to share with you that as a regional community college, we have annual programming and we have limited, if you might say, shop space due to the volume of our annual trades programming. So Joan and I had to get very creative, very creative. We explored a number of potential delivery locations for the three trade streams, and we met with industry. We explored options of renting shop space and community. At the end of the day, we were able to leverage something very, very powerful, and only Joan can articulate this to really showcase the impact that this program has had on the region. Through Joan's partnerships and relationships, we were able to access a brilliant training facility that is now in present day being used for one of our impressive productions in Campbell River. Joan, would you like to speak to how that evolved?
Well, we've been, we always have certain assets that we promote as locations, and one in our Campbell River, and that has been of interest to us for a long time, was the closed catalyst pulp mill. It's been sitting vacant for many years. We've been trying to promote it as potential for filming. So when we were looking for something with large warehouses, I went back to the new owners and basically asked them if we could utilize some of their shops and warehouse spaces to do the training, continually to say, I'm pressing on them that I felt that this was a location that maybe we have not been successful to land a production at, although we had brought many people to look at. But, if they would continue they haven't been able to utilize it for anything else, if they continue to let us promote it, would they work with us to do some training? And they agreed. So we did our training there last year. Fast forward a year, right now we have inside that same big space, the largest television series British Columbia has ever had, actually one of the largest television series ever to be made. It's been building sets there for 5 months now, and they're filming inside with all of these crew members that we trained working in there. So I think that is an amazing story for us. It's a successful story. It's a benefit for that private owner who worked with us and offered us space and had faith that we believe that this had value. He came as a community partner. In return, they're benefiting from it, and the trainees and the locals are benefiting from it. The other space we had was, because of the announcement of the training and the things that were going on, another individual launched a purpose-built studio in Parksville at the same time. And so he was just finished building his first couple of stages, and he offered up his stage space in Parksville for the training. So we were able to utilize the stages down there. So we were able to work in purpose-built stages. So it was really this whole community, the region of the communities have come together to support each other, knowing that every bit of this, builds the training, helps to build the crew builds infrastructure, everyone benefits working together. So it has been a pretty amazing year.
And again, only Joan can speak to this with the insight that it deserves. But I'll share with you my observation is that there's a drastic increase in awareness as to our region, our potential as far as Vancouver Island being a potential site for production, because producers are calling Joan saying, okay, one of our barriers and dilemmas has always been the cost of crew. And as soon as Joan can say, you know what, we now have a regional crew base, the conversations are just lighting up. We have city leaders, municipal leaders who are so impressed by the impact of this program on regional economy. As we've seen over the last several months, those in the service industry, the hotel sector, they're constantly reporting that there's no vacancies. Like this has had such a significant impact. We don't have the dollar figure at this point in time, but considering there's no room vacancies, the restaurants are busy, we've seen the influx of traffic into the region. Again, we see nothing but positive as a result of this training. I can't speak to the numbers. We're moving into the evaluation phase as we speak, actually, and our evaluation will carry through to March, April, and we hope to be able to present to everybody some sound results and concrete data, but the general feedback that we're getting is extremely positive.
And I guess I'll close with this. The timing was right for our region. So all the pieces were beginning to come together. So when we went to do this piece, when we really went after the next piece of what we needed to put together for our region to develop the film and television industry, the timing was right for us for this. So it needs to be done throughout the province. It's something I'm championing very strongly. I'm in Vancouver next week, having meetings again. And now we have the unions are coming to meet with us next week and talking about the fact that while they have seen the results for this, we've had maybe 7 or 8 big productions since we completed this program, where our trainees have been on these productions. We see them on every one of our shows in our area. A lot of them have gotten enough hours now to become full members in the unions. So it's being recognized as success. So the unions are now coming to talk to us next week about supporting it and how we move forward to this, looking out into the region. So from sitting at a table with them where we kind of got blank stares and told that that's not how the way that they operate with their training and their membership, to having them come back and sit at a table with us and say, let's talk, to me, that is a huge win for all of us in the province. To be able to just sit down and take another look at how we can make things happen means that there's all these opportunities that we can build throughout the regions of British Columbia. So I'm very excited about the future for all of us, but it's more than just crew training. There's a lot of pieces that have to be put together, and we've been doing it for close to 24 years now. Things just came together for us amazingly this year. Had an amazingly our hotels are still full. So our numbers are going to be incredible, but there's a lot of pieces that came together, but without the crew training and the capacity to backfill the needs of productions when they come here and to grow the experience of these people that are tradespeople, we would have still been only just being respondent instead of proactive.
That's brilliant. Thank you, Joan. So in summary, I want to thank the ministry. I want to thank INFilm. Again, as a post-secondary institution, we are so reliant on the insight and the support of ministry and industry. And without Joan's leadership and insight, this would not have evolved. I'm here to support the development and facilitation of timely program development and delivery. But again, the expertise and the insight specific to labor market demand comes from such individuals as Joan Miller. And I so appreciate all that she's done for our region and all of the guidance and the mentorship she's provided to me for this initiative. So we'll close at that. I understand that we may have a few minutes for questions, and by all means, Joan and I are here for that.
Thank you so much, Joan and Cheryl. That was really exciting, and I actually think I might just move up there and take your course.
Please, you're welcome. You're welcome. I'll find you an office.
Excellent. Good. I think I actually I studied theater for a year in university, and I loved set construction. So I think I might, if the whole government thing doesn't work out for me, perhaps I'll become a set builder. So, all right. We do have some questions indeed, and I'm gonna ask those. And I also have a little poll for the audience. So what I'll do is I'll ask the question, and then I'll run the poll so that people can be answering it while you're answering your question. It is: has there been any thought to expanding support for the program for other positions on set, such as makeup assistant, set decoration, drivers, catering, etc.?
Hi, this is Joan. We have talked about this nonstop, and we had to start with 3 trades and an entry level, but we had identified every department when we first started. So yes, but the biggest challenge is finding the funding to develop the programs. And I'm going to be really honest, these programs are something that we are hoping that as a result of our phase 5 research and review and recommendations, that we're going to be able to have discussion with government to continue to support these programs, because there's a lot of people in the regions who will not be able to afford to take any kind of programming if we don't continue to support them to get in and help them take this type of short-term training. So yes, we're heavy into looking at all of the other trades, especially things that regional colleges or universities in the regions are already have programming out there. People coming out of a hair and makeup, aesthetic course, people that are taking landscaping, people that are taking culinary courses, first aid courses. We have so many trades in the film industry. Those are all skilled jobs. To be able to take those skills and add a component of the film industry on it so those people can work in our sector as well as other sectors, that's what's making the difference with what we're doing. And I think that's what's making a difference with the industry, the unions, because they're going to LA and they're listening to the people in Hollywood saying, we want to come to British Columbia, but we want skilled workers. And the problem they're finding in Vancouver right now is it's so busy, they're picking people off the street with no skills. And that doesn't help them at all grow the skilled worker base. The pilot program, what we've developed is skilled workers with training, and that's what's getting the attention of the people down in Los Angeles.
Cool. Thank you. I'm just going to run my poll now. I know that some people on the call are actually not out in the communities, but you live in a community. So it's just a quick question to see where people's communities are at. The question is film and television production a potential opportunity for your community? And there's a couple of different choices here. So I see people are coming back and getting engaged again and answering the question. So we've already seen some productions come here. I live in Victoria, and so we've been seeing film for a while. In fact, I got a chance to be an extra for Bird on a Wire when it was filmed here. And
you're dating yourself.
Yeah. So there we go.
She was a teenager.
I was a teenager, in fact, a young teenager. Let's go with that.
Yeah.
Yes. So yeah, that was exciting, and we've seen a variety of other productions here in the area. But that's because we're Victoria and we're the capital city, and it's an easy jump across the water. But I don't know what we have in terms of training programs here, so I may actually have to have a little chat with our South Island Film Commission. So we've got about 70% voter turnout now, so that's pretty good. Go BC. I hope everyone is returning your referendum ballots as well as you're returning your votes on my poll here. So I'm going to close the poll and display the results. So, all right, well, this is positive. So 56% of the people who responded said we're already seeing productions come here, and 44% are saying yes, we've had some interest. And I know that we have people from all over the province here, north to south, the east to west. So it's a pretty broad audience, and even some people right in the center of the province. That was a fabulous presentation. Thank you so much. And don't go away, people. We have another exciting story. So I'm going to hide the poll, and then I think I'm going to move things back and give an introduction to our next presenters here. Joey and Jamie from the Ucluelet Chamber of Commerce. Now, I know that it's very stormy where Joey is right now, so if all of a sudden he disappears from the webinar, give us a couple minutes. I'll load back up the presentation on my computer, and I believe Jamie is somewhere else in the province so that he can take over. I'll just unmute the two of you, and I'll let you introduce yourselves. If you're interested, before I do that, if you're interested in these stories, by the way, these are both stories from our BC Ideas Exchange Success Story Collection. We write and we produce those and publish one every 2 weeks. And if your community would like to have one of its community economic development initiatives featured on the BC Ideas Exchange, just send me an email at economicdevelopment@gov.bc.ca, and I will work you into my publishing schedule. So we also have a map on that website so you can see where the stories are coming from. So if your community isn't on the map, please reach out and let me put it on the map. All right, I will let Joey and Jamie introduce themselves now. I'm going to turn the controls over to Joey.
All right. My name's Joey Rotenberg. I'd like to start by acknowledging that the Ucluelet Chamber of Commerce and myself right now are on the traditional territories of the Ucluelet First Nation. And then I'll turn it over to Jamie to allow him to introduce himself.
Hi, I'm Jamie Van Struth. I'm actually in Vancouver right now on the traditional territories of the Squamish, Musqueam, and Tsleil-Waututh First Nations. And maybe I'll just give a little bit of a background before I give it back to Joey. So I'm actually an economic development consultant, and my role in this project was sort of as a remote program manager. I've been doing consulting in the province for about 20 years, and I've been involved in Ucluelet a few times. I did their economic development strategy in 2012 and did a smaller update last year. At that time, I met the board of the Ucluelet Chamber of Commerce, who were just exploring this idea. And as they were rolling forward last fall, they were looking for a program manager, which had to be somebody with some experience in a business retention program that could help get the program set up and operate it, which is a challenging thing to find in a smaller community, someone that has that experience. So I talked to them again, and they were interested in having me do it as a contract. So I've been involved over the last year. Thankfully, I've been able to visit Ucluelet quite a few times, but especially in the beginning, getting things set up and getting Joey rolling. So he's been the person on the ground there doing most of the interviews and doing the day-to-day operation of the program, and I've been sort of monitoring it remotely. So he's going to do all the heavy lifting for the presentation today, so I'll pass it back to him.
As Jamie said, I am the facilitator here, which means that I'm the boots on the ground. My job basically is to interview local employers, do the data entry, review the data, provide day-to-day business supports, and coordinate the delivery of Uber programming. This first slide here is a little something about the Ucluelet Chamber of Commerce. As you can see, the chamber has been around for about 70 years. In 2015, they stopped providing destination marketing services. And as a result, had to pivot to a new revenue source. They decided to pivot towards economic development services, and the Uber program, the Ucluelet Business and Employee Retention and Expansion Program, is exactly that. The Uber program is a BRE program, so a Business Retention and Expansion Program, that is actually an implementation of the district's second, or the District of Ucluelet's second economic development strategy. A little bit about our program itself. This slide gives you a breakdown of the different parts and pieces of our program. You'll see there are two main branches here. There's the BRE branch and then the youth branch. The BRE branch involves interviews and the identification of needs. The interviews themselves have led to a diversification of the chamber network. In particular, we have been engaging a younger group of business owners, which is really terrific because this is a quite youthful town when it comes to demographics, and a lot of our business owners are quite young as well. Many of the folks that I've met are in their mid-30s, early 40s. I am as well in my mid-30s, so it's been a terrific moment for me to be able to engage with folks that are quite inspirational to me, who have created their own lives and their own businesses, and it's been great that way. As a result of this project and this increased level of engagement, we have actually increased our chamber numbers, which is awesome. The other parts of the BRE program is obviously reporting to council and to local stakeholders. We do interim reports to council to let them know of the key issues that we have identified. And then at the end of the project, we'll do a very large stakeholder report that reports all of our results to all the stakeholders. Our intention is to make that report as user-friendly and as accessible as possible, because nobody needs a deep, deep delve. The other element of our BRE section is supporting local employers. The ways that we support them is by referring them to experts in their field, hosting a number of workshops, conducting research and advocacy. So I do quite a bit of that, especially on the in terms of municipal bylaw. And then I often serve as a bridge between local business owners and the municipality when there's an issue that has to be addressed. We've also developed a business support catalog, which links our local businesses with the supports that are out there. The other arm of our Uber program is the youth-centered portion. Right now, we're running two portions of that. The first portion is a youth employment registry, which basically lists employers that employ high school aged youth after school or during the summer season. So it's a first stop for those youth looking for new jobs. The other section is a deeper dive, and it involves our Junior Achievement Program. We've partnered with Junior Achievement British Columbia to offer the company program, which I'll discuss in depth a little bit later. So this slide as well shows you generally what we've done. As you can see, there's the interim data analysis with 6 BRE challenges identified, 1 networking event, another planned for late November, 14 workshops completed with several more, supported many local employers by connecting with resources. We've also interviewed 83 people and delivered a JA program.
I have no idea where that music is coming from. I'm sorry.
I don't either. That's okay. We've developed a series of spotlights. I'll break these issues out one by one as we go through this presentation. Okay, beautiful music.
I have no idea where that's coming from.
I don't either. So I'll forge forward. Is it possible it's coming from me, Susan, or?
It's possible. There's, I'm mostly muted. There may be something in your background. I'm not able to mute Cheryl, but I think she's probably got herself on mute, and Jamie's on mute. So it is probably coming from somewhere on your computer.
I don't see it on my computer as nothing is running.
This is definitely a first, folks. Do you have a browser window open?
Sorry? I do not have a browser open or anything.
No.
Okay, well, that seems to be the end of it, hopefully.
I don't know.
And let's get back to the presentation.
Okay, sorry everyone. Okay.
I have no idea. Okay, well, back to the presentation. Or not. I have no idea where that's coming from.
I have no browser windows open. Let's try advancing some. Oh, we have a phone call coming in. Let's see who talks. We don't know.
Okay, well,
okay.
Back to the presentation. That seems to have adjusted it.
Yeah.
So each element of the presentation, so each element of what we've been doing, the way I thought that would be most helpful for other economic development folks out there would be to identify each element and then break down what our best practices have been. So as I said, we've done 83 interviews so far. One of the challenges with these interviews for us has always been actually scheduling the interview itself. In order to address that issue, basically what I did is I had my coworker, Lara Kemps, who is born and raised in Ucluelet, help me get interviews. So best practice, make sure you have a well-connected individual to help schedule interviews. The other best practice and key here is to keep interviews short. The way that we do that is I'll do a bunch of research about the particular business in advance, so I can ask leading questions rather than open questions. For example, I'll research a company and identify whether they're incorporated or not, and I'll ask them exactly that. I'll ask them, are you incorporated? And they'll say yes or no, rather than asking what sort of business form are you using. At the same time, it's really, really, really important to use open questions, because some of our best data actually come from these open questions. One of my favorite questions in terms of coding the data that we've received are what are the barriers to growth and the successful operation of your business? That question will do two things. First of all, it can confirm and reiterate some of the closed questions that you asked. For example, do you have unfilled positions or positions that were unfilled for an extended period of time? And they'll once again talk about how difficult it is to attract employees or to retain employees. The other thing you can do is you can really get a nice pens down discussion going with open questions like this. So we can identify and actually work through problems. Much of the time, employers are just looking for a sounding board, and I've found that I've become that much of the time, and we can help to identify and then address problems like this when it comes to these open questions. So we've also done our interim data analysis. In the bottom right-hand corner of my screen here, you'll see the 6 economic development challenges. As you can see, our challenges are not abnormal. In particular, employee attraction and retention is a big challenge for our small community. Housing is also a challenge as housing costs go up and as housing availability goes down. We've also found that the availability of commercial and in particular industrial real estate has become a real problem. That's partially due to some of the zoning restrictions that are here in Ucluelet, and we're trying to deal with those restrictions with the municipality. There's also the challenge of limited professional and professional sports and trades. In particular, we have quite the shortage of plumbers here and the shortage of bookkeeping. Another very obvious challenge that we have to address here is the seasonality of revenues, as Ucluelet is a great tourism destination. The other thing we've noticed with many of our local employers is that very few of them do strategic business planning and very few of them have succession plans. In terms of best practices, in order to collect our data, what we do is we use something called Survey Anyplace. It's an online piece of software. Nice part about this piece of software is you can use offline. You can do the surveys offline, which means that I can go and I can do the survey somewhere where I don't have internet connection, and then I upload it as soon as I get back to the office. The customer service with Survey Anyplace has also been great. One of the challenges with Survey Anyplace has been that you need to upload the data frequently. You can't do multiple interviews in a row without uploading the data. Otherwise, they have to go into your browser cache and find this data for you. So avoid doing that if you plan to use Survey Anyplace. Once I get back to the office, basically I download a CSV file to Excel. One of the key practices with Excel is to keep your macros to a minimum. As you add more and more macro coding to data Excel or to Excel, the file sizes can get larger and larger and larger, and as they get larger, they can get quite unwieldy. The other key for me, because I had very little Excel background, was having Jamie train me. So if you don't have that sort of data analysis or data control expertise in-house, I just suggest hiring out of house or having a manager that's out of the region helping you out with that. So the next section is all about how we support our businesses. In particular, some of these logos here are the folks that are listed on our business catalog, and as well we refer to quite frequently. BizPal is very effective, and our partnership with Community Futures has been terrific so far. We've also had quite a few small claims issues and legal issues, which we refer directly to the Small Claims BC helpline, which apparently has been relatively helpful. In terms of best practices, it's really important that you respond as soon as possible. People tend to let small problems get bigger and bigger over time, so if you can respond as soon as you can, that's great. The other one that we bumped into is that for the employer training grant, you need a BCEID, and a BCEID can take quite some time to get, so it can take up to 2 weeks to get your BCEID. A lot of the local employers here really are interested in this grant, but they really need to get things organized well in advance, because the deadline on the grant or the opening for the grant is quite competitive, and in turn the deadline is quite short. So make sure folks have their BCEIDs done well in advance. We're also working with local regional partners to identify regional problems and solutions. That includes working with the Tofino Long Beach Chamber of Commerce. We also work closely with local government to apply for funding and to address missable challenges. And then this is very important, especially for new startups. Try not to bombard them with resources. One good resource oftentimes can be a lot more helpful than many, many resources. So we're also creating these business spotlights and support pieces. One of those business spotlights is below, the Foggy Bean Coffee Company. Actually, they just opened a new coffee shop here in town, so if you're here in Ucluelet, make sure to check out Foggy Bean. It's in the old church. In terms of best practices, it's really, really important to understand who your audience is and how to best connect with them. We're still working on that today. The other thing is that the spotlights themselves is another opportunity to engage with local employers, and in turn another opportunity to identify business needs. When you're working on these spotlights, make sure to leave plenty of time to correspond with business owners, because sometimes they can be too busy to check your copy, and oftentimes it's really important to get their copy so you can amalgamate the two. Now, we've had a networking event and we're hosting another. It's key to host them in a central location because stragglers will pop up, and we have such a small business community that oftentimes folks will just be wandering down the street and join the networking event and make a new connection. The other key that we noticed is that if you plan on having a presentation, make sure to keep it brief, as the networking, I think, is actually equally important to the presentation and shouldn't be overwhelmed by it. Another best practice is to invite the politicians, as it's another moment to engage with our local politicians and for businesses to engage with their local politicians. And of course, food quality matters, so keep it delicious. Now, we've done 14 workshops to date, and we have 4 more planned for the winter season. What we do is we'll use the business needs identified through the interview data to dictate what sort of workshops we do, which meant that we had to do a interim data analysis really early in our process to start to book and to identify topics and book workshops. So I'd suggest doing an interim analysis early so you can get a general sense of what sort of workshops you should start booking. It's really key to keep the workshops short. And when I say short, I'm talking about an hour and a half. What I found is that 3-hour workshops, people get exhausted, even with the break in the middle. The other key is to make sure that complicated topics such as taxes are broken up into several workshops so that the instructor can simply hit the nail on the head and move forward. In terms of workshop leaders, I suggest looking for local talent. We found terrific people here in Ucluelet, and this is a small town. But if you do have to go out of town to get talent, a good instructor really is worth their weight in gold, so it's worth the money. Another challenge for us has been making sure that attendance is strong, and to do so, what we've done is we've offered the workshops at a variety of times. And then once again, the food really does matter. Folks get to know delicious food, and they come for the food, and they walk away with new knowledge of topics that are important to them. At the end of each workshop, we survey attendees about the quality of the workshop, how they heard about the workshop, and what suggestions they have for future workshops, which we'll use in our reporting process, and we use to dictate future workshops. All right, so we are also delivering this youth program called the Company Program, curriculum provided by Junior Achievers. In terms of best practices, it's all about the mentors. Make sure they're committed, they have diverse work experiences, they're energetic and engaged, and are clear communicators. We use Slack for communication and Excel for data tracking. This program is an opportunity for young people to learn not only about the process of starting a business, selling a product, and then liquidating. It's also an opportunity for them to learn these programs like Slack and Excel. The other thing we've noticed is that a lot of the students don't check their emails, so it's really important to upload an app like Slack to their phones because that's how they communicate. The other issue is that you really need to plan to lose participants. We've lost 2 of 11 so far, and hopefully we won't lose any more. But attrition, I think, is common in these sorts of programs, especially when they're after-school programs. The other best practice is to set clear goals, deadlines, and group norms. In terms of the curriculum with the company program, it is quite flexible, but each program, each date that you run the program, make sure that you organize, give yourselves time to organize what parts of the curriculum you're going to use, because of the way that junior team has set out their curriculum. It does need quite a bit of organization. Finally, it's really, really important that there is more activities and less lecturing, because this is an after-school program and the youth have heard their teachers talk all day long. And finally, good pizza goes a long way, because this is an after-school program and there has to be incentivized. Without that sort of incentive, it's very difficult to get kids out and coming out. The group that I'm working with right now is about to launch their product. It's called Wild Coasters. They're handmade wood coasters, and they're going to be awesome. They've got a bunch of prototypes that are already in production, and we're hoping to hit our local craft fair and then start to find other opportunities to sell our product, in particular to possibly some of the local restaurants. So we're pretty excited about that. That's all I have for presentation today. I'd, of course, like to thank our funders, the Rural Dividend Fund, the District of Ucluelet, and Island Coast Economic Trust, who have been awesome to work with and have allowed us to run this program. Thanks for your time, everyone.
Thanks, Joey. Jamie, did you have anything you wanted to add, or was that was the deal? Oh, I've got unmuted. There, now you're unmuted.
Oh, there we go. No, I think Joey's covered it really well. I'm just I'm still here for questions if there are any.
Okay, great. Well, once again, I'll give a little bit of chance for people to think of their questions and show them. And I have a poll, because inquiring minds want to know. So I'm going to launch the poll right now while you think of your questions. Has your community done a business retention and expansion initiative? So let me know. Do you have one running? Have you done one recently? Yes, but it was quite a while ago, or we haven't done one at all. Or if you're one of those people on the call who is not actually representing a specific community, you may not know that if you're not involved in the economic development for your community. So we'll just see. I'm kind of curious about this, because it is sort of a mainstay of community economic development. And as Joey's presentation demonstrated, it brings a lot of information forward that you can use to make your local economy stronger. So because we have just a little bit of time left on the call, I'm going to actually cut it off in a few seconds here. This time we have less than 50% voter turnout, which is sad, but that's okay, because I know a number of people probably aren't from a specific community, but you're represented in this vote. So I'll close the poll and share it. So we have 29% of the people who responded, which is, well, we actually had about 8 people respond probably. So 29% said we have one currently running. So there's some people out there doing it. 43% have done one recently. 29% haven't done one. And we didn't hear from people not representing a specific community. All of them, I know you're up there. So actually, I just realized what time it is. We've got a couple of minutes left. I know that some of you have probably just been thoroughly impressed by the presentations and can't even think of your questions yet. But if you email them to me at economicdevelopment@gov.bc.ca, I can pass them on to Joey and Jamie, and you can ask your questions then. So I will hide the results and go back to my screen. Cheryl and Joan have stepped off the call. I think they may have accidentally put us on hold, and that was the music that we were hearing. So it stopped because we stopped being on hold. Yeah. And I couldn't hear it for some reason. So thank you very much, everybody. I'll just go over the upcoming webinar. We've got one left in our fall season, and that is it's a 75-minute webinar on strategic planning and economic development. We're going to have some guest speakers from all over the province talking about how their community has done their strategic planning and used various aspects of the strategic planning toolkit. So if you're going to go on to that webinar, I would recommend going to our website and just checking out the strategic planning toolkit if you're not already familiar with it. and then you can learn about what's there and see how different communities have used different aspects of it. And we're going to kind of drill down into some specific areas of strategic planning. I am working on the calendar for 2019 and looking forward to sharing that with you once I get the dates set up. So lots of exciting things coming. If you want to make sure that you're getting those, sign up for our email list. Just jot this down really quickly, cm.pm/3inj. And there will be a feedback survey. It will come out to you as soon as we end this webinar, and also in an email to you in about 1 hour. So please complete the very brief survey, and don't forget to register for the next webinar. Thank you very much, everybody, for joining us. I'm glad that we made it through despite the threats of music and potential hard weather. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. Thank you to Jamie and Joey for being on the call. And thanks to Cheryl and Joan, even though they're not with us anymore. Have a great day, everybody. I'm going to end the webinar.